78.6 FM Yomaton, positive vibes with Winsome. And we're back for another Saturday to, hey man, what else do we do? Speak positive vibes, speak life, speak another week. So grateful to have another week with everybody, to have another day. And I think that's sometimes what we forget. Waking up every single day is a blessing. Waking up every single day is a new opportunity to do something better than we did the day before. I was on a plane flying from Yokohama here to Okinawa and flooded with thoughts. I can't wait to tell you guys next week because I have to wait to talk about that trip per the agreement with the company I was covering for. But I honestly had so many thoughts flooding through my mind. So grateful for the experiences that I've had up to this point. And that was the whole concept of this month was gratitude and grateful. So you've probably seen videos and quick clips on Facebook alluding to exactly that, gratitude, man. And just not only grateful for what, was in front of every day in front of my life, from the opportunities that present themselves, but just the experience, the journey, the story, the people, the places. Every day was a new opportunity to grow, the opportunities to grow. Even those weeks or months that I felt stagnant, right? Because we all have them. Those weeks and months that you feel like I'm not moving, right? I want to do more. I feel like I should be doing more than this. But during that time or throughout that time that I was feeling that way, I was learning lessons and I didn't even realize it. Months go by, a year and a half now have gone by, and I'm looking at it like, wow, I needed that time to get a plan together. See, I needed those 4 months that I thought I was miserable, that I was frustrated, that I was upset or angry because I felt stagnant. You see, that was time when I look back on it that I was growing and learning lessons and putting pieces together that needed to be in place for me to be who I am a year and a half later. To be able to have the opportunity to be able to tell those stories. You see, sometimes we think we're moving because we're supposed to. But at the end of the day, there's a plan already formulated. And we're really just kind of dialing into that direction of the plan that's already developed. You see, and I call it something, if you've been following me on Facebook or you follow me on any of the other sites, on my website, I call it your purpose. What you're supposed to be doing. Sometimes we think what we want is automatically going to happen. That's what we're supposed to be doing. But when we really dial it back and we look at all the pieces that make us who we are, we realize that there's something special in each and every one of us, something unique, that makes you you. You see, in that uniqueness, that special piece of you, is what is important when it's time for you to be in your purpose. You see, some of us, we feel that way, like I mentioned before. We feel stagnant, frustrated, angry, because we're not living our purpose. We're not in the direction we're supposed to be. Hey, man, y'all might not hear me, but I'm going to say it anyway because my mind was wandering on the plane, and I remember we took off, and I was watching one of my favorite shows. It's hilarious. It's a little adult, of course. It's called What We Do in the Shadows, about adult vampires living together. It's real raunchy. It's hilarious, though. But I'm watching this show, and one of the guys says, hey, I'm about to turn 100, right? Remember, this is a comedy show about vampires. I'm about to turn 100, and before I turned 100, as soon as he said that, my brain went somewhere else. As soon as he mentioned what he wanted to do before he reached the century point, of course, for the show purposes, I started thinking about my own life. And I started thinking about the things when I was younger I always wanted to do. The things when I was a teenager or in high school that I wanted to see accomplished. The books I read that used to expand my imagination and make me have a list of things I always wanted to do, places I wanted to go, people I wanted to meet, languages I wanted to learn. Remember that? Do you remember how you felt when you were a kid? with that huge imagination, and everything in front of you was limitless. Do you remember that? So my question to myself was, what's tying me down from doing a lot of those things? What's keeping me from being as limitless as I used to be? What is it that's freezing me back? Because even though I have responsibilities, there is still so much living to do. And then when you start peeling that onion back even more. So just imagine on this plane, nothing but the little soft music playing I even turn the music down just so I can gather my thoughts on this moment. Picture this. That's just right now what I remember. Those memories that I was plucking from me growing up as a young child, teenager, things I wanted to do. But then as an adult, you start realizing how fast time is flying by. As an adult, you start looking at, wow, I'm on a plane like, wait a minute, this was 20 something years ago. 23, 24 years in my case, that I was limitless. And now I'm at that point in my early 40s thinking about all the things I didn't do. And then I can't make excuses anymore about why I couldn't do it, because I understand all of the things that I have been able to accomplish. I made a plan and I did them. Sometimes I took leaps of faith to get it done, but I did it. So what's left? And I started thinking about how short our life really is in the grand scheme of things. I started thinking about, it's just a blip on the radar. The folks who we've seen pass away from COVID, and over the news the last 2 years, that life is so precious. So it gave me a renewed appreciation coming back from Yokohama and having that time to myself without any interruptions, the noise blocked out, sitting there. I do that a lot, and I go places and do things to block out the noise. But that was unexpected because those thoughts kind of flooded me from nowhere. It was appreciative. I called a friend of mine, Adrena, and I appreciate her taking my call, because we always had these way out thoughts, right? Our minds kind of do this thing. We kind of link up and it's like, yeah, did you ever think this? And one of the coolest conversations to have with someone is someone who truly listens and dissects what you're saying and then spits it back to you and help you make it make sense. And when it comes to those kinds of thoughts and those directions and that pathways, is one of the coolest people to talk to. She's hilarious. Drina, appreciate you, man, and for listening to my craziness sometimes. And I love your stories and your adventures as well and your growth. But for me, that was one of those moments I was like, it's not just that I'm going into a new transition soon, right? Is that I'm looking at recapping and remembering everything it took to get here. So I say this to all of you, man. Life is precious. I didn't even walk. This was not part of the plan this afternoon to walk in here and speak about how special life is. But I want you to understand every breath, every day, every minute, every second is precious. You have to experience it and enjoy and appreciate it. Because when you have a true appreciation of every second, every minute, every hour of every day, you approach life differently. Because you know you don't want to leave anything for chance. You don't want to be at the end and have regrets. You approach everything differently. And you know, the funny thing about it is not only just situations, but people. At the base, we're talking about reframing, right? The United States Air Force. Happy birthday to the United States Air Force, by the way. Right now, we're talking about reframing this quarter. How to take situations and how you feel and who you are. And if you don't feel that you're going in a direction that your heart, mind, and spirit want you to be, how to kind of reset, right? Dial things back and reapproach the next day differently. And what I love about that message and what's not always taught is you are not bound to the person that you were the day before. There's nothing written anywhere that says if you were a jerk yesterday, you have to be a jerk today. There's nothing anywhere that says if you were mean to someone yesterday, you have to be mean today. There's nothing that says if you approached the conversation crazy yesterday that you can't reapproach that same person with a different perspective today. There's nothing that says you can't do that. So my question is, why don't we? Right? Why don't a lot more people take a look at themselves and say, hey, man, you know what? That was trash. The way I approached that entire situation was trash. So the way I approach my next situation is going to be completely different. Why don't people do that? I'll tell you why. Because of ego. And I say that out loud. Because of ego. And if you don't know what that is, Google it. Because that's what ego is, what keeps people from being who they're probably meant to be, or being the person that someone needs them to be. It's that ego. So a couple of things I wrote, man, on the flight and on the way back. I had briefly shared it on Facebook, and I pulled it back, and I was like, you know what? I'm not wasting this. I'm bringing it down on Saturday. So one of the things I said is there are over 7.8 billion people, 195 countries, 86.4 thousand seconds in a day. Meet as many people as you can. Go as far as you can for as long as you can, and never take 1 second for granted. And let me say that again. Billions of people in this world, over 195 countries, and limitless time if you're in good health and you're moving. Appreciate the people, places, and things around you, and never take anyone or anything for granted. You know, one of my favorite pieces about the trip we just came on from Yokohama was that everyone was so kind, just like here in Okinawa. Here in Yomitan especially, here in the community radio, 78.6 FM Yomitan, everyone who works here is so wonderful, so nice, so genuine, so friendly. So when you walk in, it's that vibe, right? This is one of my favorite parts of the week, is walking in here to the smiles and to the conversation and getting set up, and it's a wonderful energy. So when I was doing the coverage last weekend, I felt that the entire time. I loved that vibe. And there was never any like sizing people up like you do on certain jobs, you know, and I've been experiencing that a lot in the last 2, 3, 4 years, watching people size each other up. But you never get that. You get genuine kindness in Yokohama and here. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience, wonderful food, wonderful time, conversations. The young ladies who, I can't get into that till next week. I'm just going to say everybody was great, and I can't wait to tell you guys next week what we covered last week, and it was really awesome. But so covering down and getting back to being home. Don't take anything for granted, man. I remember hearing the flight say, if we hit turbulence, right? Of course, turbulence, it'll wake you up in a heartbeat. When you're in the plane and all of a sudden the plane dips out of nowhere and it starts flying again. That dip will wake you up. It'll shock you. It'll bring you back. If you were zoned out, it brings you back quick, real quick. And that's exactly what happened to me, man. It was time to wake up, get ready to come back to Okinawa and reset. When I came, it was raining. That's okay. I'm back on the island. I'm back home. I appreciate when I put my 2 feet on the ground that I made it safely, that I had another day in me tomorrow. And see, those are some of the things that we don't appreciate the little things anymore. Yeah, for 99% of the time, every plane takes off and lands safely. But come on, guys. What about the ones that don't? I don't know the percentages, but yeah, for the most part, most people get through these COVID variants and survive. But what about the ones that don't? What about those expectations, right? Not everybody is the same. Not everybody's built the same. We have to start appreciating each other and the things that we have and the blessings. Man, I talk about that all day. But anyway, 78.6 FM Yomitan. Positive vibes of Winsome. I'm looking differently. I'm feeling differently. I'm approaching things differently. And when I decided to take a change or make a change, and when I say that, notice I'm not looking at any kinds of papers when I'm telling you this. When I decided to change my life, change the way I approach people, change the way I approach situations, change the way I approach every single day, everything changed. But see, I had to make a promise to myself that I was going to be better than I was yesterday. 78.6 FM Yomitan, positive vibes of Winsome. We'll be back right after this break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to you a little bit about Air Force Angels, a little something different. Talk to you guys right after this break. Bye. .6 FM Yoma Time, Positive Vibes with Winsome. We are back. So excited to be back. As I told you guys in the last segment, everything's different for me. I'm approaching not only just the show, but every day that I have remaining on this island until I gotta go differently. Someone told me the other day, they say, hey man, when you come in the office, it's like a different vibe. This energy that comes with you, and I appreciate it. I love it. Had my going away for my previous office or section, and they did a scroll. It was so cool. It was a scroll where everybody wrote something about you. And I kept seeing the same things over and over. Like, it was differently phrased, but it was the same concept. And the concept was your positivity and your energy. We appreciate your kindness, your positivity, and your energy. Thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for bye-bye. What I took away from all of that, and I'm not going to paraphrase anybody's comments. Thank you so much for everybody who did take the time to write something. But what I took away from all that is I'm walking in and walking out the same way. I'm walking in with my heart on my sleeve, and I'm walking out with the same heart on my sleeve, the same energy, consistency. And that was the promise. That was the promise that I made to myself 5 years ago. That no matter what, be the person for other people that you needed when you were going through something. Be that consistent person that cares, that listens, that tries to understand, that is there. That was to read those things, to have one of my new office mates say the same thing. For me, it was confirmation, and it was kind of is that feedback that I know, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing for people. And when we talk about that, what's the word I use all the time? Your purpose. Why are you here? What are you doing? Who needs you? How are you giving back to those folks that need you, right? So we peel it back, man, and I thought about all of these little pieces that I pulled. It wasn't just me. And as you know, the theme of the month is gratitude. And every base that I've gone to, and I say base because I've been in the United States Air Force for 23 years. And every base I've always had what we call an Air Force angel to guide me. It's kind of funny, nobody really paid attention to it. I always did. It was always in the back of my mind, like, that didn't just happen. I didn't just meet this person by chance. It's by design. When I first got to my first base, leaving home for the first time, I remember it was a senior master sergeant, I believe he was at the time, Carl Cooper. I'll never forget, he was a first sergeant. Took me under his wing almost instantly. I knew he saw something in me that probably he used to be when he was younger, right? After Carl Cooper, I had a bunch of big brothers and big sisters who saw me under his wing. They kind of picked up the role of big brother, big sister. You had Mo Barnes. You had Teresa. I don't remember what her last name was. Her last name had changed 4 times. Smothers, I don't know what it is. You had Wendell Barnes. We called him Mo. Big brother, he was so funny, man. He was a senior airman that didn't really want to promote, but had to promote, right? It was awesome to see his transition. And as he became a leader in the ranks, then you move forward. And I left there. And it wasn't until I left my job, my career field, went to another career field, and came back, right? Now, listen, there was a window of time in my career where I was kind of on this island by myself. I didn't have that Air Force angel that I needed. It was kind of I had to find my own way based on everything that was built, right? There was a Eric Barnes before I left. There was a Paul Montgomery before I left. There was a, what was this, Master Sergeant Singletary before I left. Let me go, man, so many before. And then that window, I was on this island, and I had to take all the lessons. I had to take all the lessons that I learned from those previous leaders, the Air Force angels that I had before, guiding me, steering me, mentoring me. And I had to take those lessons when I was out on this island. I ain't going to name the career field that I was in, but I was by myself in a kind of a dog-eat-dog scenario in some ways. And I had to lean on what I learned and what I loved and who I was. And it wasn't always easy. It really wasn't. And then I had some issues, and I had to come back to my old career field. Bam, get off this island, move forward. Again, it's not always easy. It's not always pretty, but it's life. And we'll get to that next segment. So I get back to my career field, jump in. The first mentor I had, right? They put me in with what's my lady's name, man? I want Patty Donatucci Irwin. Don't want to mess it up. And she was like big sister immediately. There were so many life transitions for me at this time. Sergeant Irwin took me in, and she was big sister, Mom Dukes, right? And then I had right after that Mr. Ironsigns, who was the man who literally said, I will take him back to this career field because I know his worth. Mr. Humberto Ironsigns. And then there was an angel who he was like an archangel when we first got in there. It was Mr. Joel Dorsey. I call him Blade because he's real dark skinned like Wesley Snipes. I tease him. I call him Blade. Blade did not like me when I came there. He didn't like my swag. He didn't like my style. He didn't like my voice. He didn't like the color of my teeth. There was nothing I can do when I first arrived back in San Antonio that made Joel Dorsey happy. It wasn't until he seen me work, when he seen my value to the team, when he understood that I was fighting every day for my new reality, that he took me under his wing as well, because he saw my heart. Listen to me when I tell y'all this, man. So then from Joel Dorsey, Mr. A, Patty Donatucci Irwin, I walk out and I go back to the headquarters building of the Personnel Air Force thing, and I run into my new leaders, right? So I met my Air Force angel, Miss Ann Lacey. That lady taught me so much about programming my mind to take care of people in a way that make it smarter, not harder. Oh man, Ann taught me so much in the window of time we had together. And she, even to this day, she's still my big sister. There's not a moment that I can't pick up the phone and call Ann. And her, and we went to, who was the young lady that worked with her? Miss Angela Harris. Angela Harris was my supervisor there, and she was, again, like Mom Dukes, kind of like Sergeant Pataducci Irwin. So I had all these characters coming back from a stumble, like I guess you can call it a fumble in my life, and to stand back up, right? Because what do I tell everybody? We all have stories. We all go through times that we fall. But the key is to get back up. When you fall, get back up stronger than you fell before. And when you reaching for the ropes, you got to reach for where you know the ropes are at. And for me, my Air Force angels were my ropes. They helped me stand back up. And again, I wasn't picking up the pieces. I was creating new pieces, because you don't want to fall the same way you just fell again, right? So I had Angela Harris and Lacey, a wonderful cast and crew there in AFPC. And I left. I wanted to be big boy again, right? I wanted to leave and go back and be a leader. I had an opportunity in the rank on my chest or shoulders at the time that I can go be a leader. So I went back to in the upper level of San Antonio base level, and I worked for Mr. A again. And this time they thrust me into one of the most challenging positions because, of course, this man knows my value, know what I can do, right? So he wants to put me in and challenge me. He doesn't want to make it easy for me. Now I'm leading a team in a program that we don't have enough people to do, but says what, right? New Air Force Angels. Still had Mr. A on Operation Overwatch. Had Keith Davis rolled up around this point. Chief Davis was the first person to taught me how to bring my strengths, bring my heart, and use it. Everybody else at that point, they taught me, they were in Operation Overwatch, right? Sergeant Donatucci taught me how to really do the same. But he was the first one as a chief, highest enlisted rank, to show me that no matter how much rank, what position you're sitting in, you can always bring your heart. So with that, I took that away, man. It was an amazing experience. Walked out of there getting step promoted, and I went back to headquarters. Listen to this story. So I go back to headquarters. I got Ann Lacey again, me and we're doing a program, one of the biggest Air Force programs in the last 10 years. It was crazy, right? We had to get rid of some folks. It was some numbers, and it was very stressful, but we got through it together. Me and my Air Force Angel. All of these people picked up from this 19-year-old kid, helped me pick up and figure out who I was going to be as an adult and as a leader. And I know I'm not saying everybody's name. There's a lot of people I've tried to text and email and everything else since deciding to retire to say thank you. But I go back to the first person that I said thank you to on a little retirement video that I did, and that's to my mom. You see, my mom taught me, along with all the other lessons I've learned over the last 24 years, my first 18, 19 years, she taught me how to fight my demons. Let me tell you what that means for the folks who don't watch movies. None of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. All of us have strengths. All of us have weaknesses. We have to use our strengths and work on our weaknesses, right? So there's things that happen in our lives and mistakes that we make that we can't fall on and stay and let it keep us and pull us back. My mom taught me how to fight and learn from your mistakes, how to block out the noise, how to keep moving and fight those battles that nobody sees you fighting. She taught me that it's okay to cry, right? She taught me that it's okay to say I love you to people. Tell people how you feel. She taught me how important family was. Something that over the years, when work and life gets in the way, sometimes being overseas, it gets hard to reach back. But it was instilled at a young age. My Uncle Jeff Johnson, who when my mom and dad split up when I was 9, he picked up the torch and made sure that all the things that a young man should know, he made sure that we knew. He was the one that would punch us in the chest when we was doing wrong or kick us in the face when we was talking crazy to our moms, right? Because we had resentment in our hearts and we didn't understand why. We were battling, trying to find the other half of us, and our father, me and my little brother, was somewhere else. So those lessons, those two, I never said that in this format, in this form. So I want to say to my mom, Rebecca E. Cully, and my uncle who passed away almost 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, thank you. Because everything that I've gone through, I've always taken something that you taught me with me. I love you. I miss you. 78.6 FM Yomitan, Positive Vibes of Winsome. We will be back right after this break for the Air Force Wounded Warrior Wellness and Resiliency Team. 78.6 FM Yoma Time, Positive Vibes of Winston. We are back. It's another Saturday. I believe today is September 19th, if I'm not mistaken. I told everybody it's the 18th. Yeah, so it's the 18th. I told everybody, man, it's one of those things where I wanted to come back different. I felt different. I saw things differently. Once I stepped down off that plane, there was so many lessons that came flooding while I was on that flight that I wanted to share many of them on radio, because it's not just an opportunity to share and speak positive things. It's an opportunity to speak life, experience, share stories. And I don't want to waste that time. I don't want to waste your time. There's a lot of things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. Mr. G, hopefully we have him back on here the next couple of weeks. One of the things I do want to tell you is that always, the third segment of this show is dedicated to the Air Force Wounded Warrior Wellness and Resiliency Team. So I will tell you that team has been a huge part of my life for the last year. And I think, Echo, you just celebrated your first year with the team. Man, it's amazing. Some of the things that we're talking about right now across the Air Force, right, is reframing. One, this month is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. So had a lot of opportunities to do some crazy cool stuff on base recently. We had a dodgeball tournament today. We didn't think it was going to happen because we didn't have enough teams originally signed up. But once them dodgeballs got laid out, man, it was like game time. People showed up. But the purpose isn't about, hey, this dodgeball about this month. The purpose is understanding that we do things together. We're getting up, we're getting out, and we're doing something. We're not sitting those four walls, and we're honoring those people that aren't here anymore. Think about all the things going on this month. The Air Force's birthday, Suicide Prevention and Awareness, Reframing Month. We're doing things together. And it's been fascinating to see how many people, we had a color run the other day where they throw colors on you. We have 5Ks going on right now. It's just amazing to see how creative people are doing, just to highlight the importance of paying attention to what's going on with our people and each other. It's important to me to say this. Kindness matters. You never know what someone's carrying. You never know what someone is going through. You never know what someone is experiencing. You never know what kind of battles that person is fighting in silence. Your kindness, your heart can save a life. Your kindness, your presence can change a life. You see, sometimes we don't realize that. We take for granted experiences we have with people. You might have a true impact on someone's day based on the simplest gesture. Random acts of kindness is also happening this month. We're just doing something kind for someone. So they're going to be having that conversation on the other radio show, AFN, of course. I believe Miss Linda Ambard is going to be talking to the team about that. But think about being on the other end of that, receiving a kind gesture, a kind word, someone checking up on you, how that feels when it happens to you. So why wouldn't you make an effort or make it something important to do for others? You see, we don't do that enough. We take for granted, like I said, people. We take for granted places, and we take for granted things. So 78.6 FM Yomaton, if I haven't said anything else today for this third segment, kindness matters. One thing about 2021, people realize when you're genuine too and when you're not, right? Everybody is a meme psychologist. Let me tell you what a meme psychologist is. A meme psychologist is everybody will have this really cool sounding meme and they'll post it. And like 80, 100 some people will like this post. This dude scrolled on the internet and ran across something. But sometimes those people who post that are some of the most toxic people I've ever dealt with. I've actually experienced that. I was like, this is one of the most toxic people I know, posting positive vibes and really doesn't enact he's a hypocrite or she's a hypocrite. Pay attention. Pay attention to people. And if you're that person that's posting those things, live that life. Because when someone comes searching for that person that you're posting as, and you're somebody completely different in person, it's heartbreaking. So please be consistent. Be the people that you're representing yourself to be online. And then when it's not online, remember, everything is virtual right now. The kids growing up, 1920s, all these kids know is virtual reality. Did I say that right? Or virtual reality. So what they see is what they believe. So if you're in one of those positions as an adult figure, mentor, person, leader, and you're putting these things out there, please make sure you're a consistent person. Because just like kindness, consistency is key. And it's not just about being in a leadership role. It's about being a good person. It's about being a good human. That people know they can pick up the phone when they're going through something in their life. That they can call you and they can talk to you about it, and you'll help guide them through it, especially if you've been through it. Not holding on to that information for yourself. There's a fun fact. Third segment dedicated to the Air Force Wounded Warrior Wellness and Resiliency Team. This is Positive Vibes with Winsome. There's a fun fact, and the fun fact is racism, politics, and religion. Those things don't divide people. What divides people is people. You see, many people hide behind those aforementioned reasons. They hide behind those titles or those labels, situations, to not like someone, or to treat someone wrong, or to treat someone badly. And you can go as far back in history as you want to. It's people. So if people realize that where you're born, what complexion, color you are, what part of the country, these dividing lines that we have, I'm going to tell you someone who's been traveling for 5 years. When you take all that away and you start seeing people for who they are and what they bring to life, you start appreciating them differently. Those divisions don't occur anymore. And I believe it was another statement I said, people say a lot, but it benefits you more as an individual to pay attention to what they do. Like these meme collegists I was talking about, right? Meme psychologists. Sounds good. And that's exactly what I say from this point. I'll either say, sounds good, or that's crazy. If you hear me say one of those two phrases, then you know that I see somebody for who they are, right? That's crazy. Or a situation for what it is. Sounds good. And some people don't do that. Some people don't accept it as this is not the right reality, this is not the right situation. But I learned a long time ago that I have to be that person sometimes. And 9 times out of 10, if you're the person that steps up and calls something for what it is, other people do the same. Be kind. Be genuine. Be authentic. Be a good person. Be a good human. 7.8 billion people in the world. Imagine if that was trending. Be a good person. Imagine, I put it in a post a few weeks ago, imagine that kindness is trending. Just being kind. Waking up with the mindset of, I'm not going to allow any situation to where I don't try to take the high ground and be kind about it. I'm not going to take or miss an opportunity to approach somebody with my heart. I'm not going to allow the office distractions to bring me in, allow me to take sides with anyone. No, I'm listening. I'm taking it all in. I'm trying to find a way to bridge that gap. That should be what we all try to do every single day. And now when you're in your 40s, learning a lesson, but imagine if you learn that early, in your teens, in your 20s, and you're already applying it at those ages. Life changes, man. Everything you do, everything you say changes, and it's important to understand that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. That's the Reverend Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Remember this if you don't remember anything else I said. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So be that light that your friends, your family, your coworkers, your students if you're a teacher, your mentee if you're a mentor, be that light that they need. I spent 4 months in Thule, Greenland with no sun, 4 months of darkness. And in those 4 months, I knew that the team that I created, the team that I worked with, we had to be that light. Because if somebody didn't step up to be it, then we didn't have it. And there are situations all through this traveling, all through the 5 years, where it would be easy to fall into the hate, easy to fall in line when someone was being dismissive, disrespectful, angry. Easiest thing to do is fall into the negativity. The hardest thing to do is find the love in that situation and pull back and say, I'm better than that. We can end this story differently than the way you're trying to end it. We can write this next page differently than the way you're trying to write it. It's up to you. It's your movie. 78.6 FM Yomitan, Positive Vibes of Winsome. It's been an interesting experience. If you guys haven't heard the whole flow of this show, it's from the heart. Few things I wrote down were simply quotes that literally, when I was looking and thinking about all these things, that just shook me, right? Who you surround yourself with matters. What you surround yourself with matters. See, all these things play in your mind throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the year. If you're trying to have a positive mindset, then you want to start surrounding yourself with positive things. You want to have a positive life, you got to see things in a positive way. You got to find the good. I wrote something for my friends about that, about finding the good, about trying to appreciate what you have in front of you, because with gratitude, it's important that you understand there's always something, always a lesson, always something positive that you can find and pull away from it, even if it doesn't look like it. So I'm going to tell you, I said life hack, right? It's a positive vibe, 78.6 FM life hack. Gratitude is a key component to a positive mindset. Finding the good improves your health. It helps you cope with adversity. It aids in building strong relationships. You see, I had a young lady whose quote said, gratitude turns what we have into enough. Think about that. What you have. You may think right now in your world you want more. You're always thinking about what you want to buy, the car you want to drive, the things you want to have in your world. But think about these places that I've been and I've seen, folks who have nothing compared to you. But to them, because they're so grateful for what they have the world. Listen to me. I had a little kid that I met while I was in Kosovo, dang near homeless. But the little things he did have, he was so appreciative. He was so happy. He was so just bragging about the things that we see in America as, oh, this is nothing. To him, it was everything. It was all about perspective and gratitude and being thankful for what was provided to him. When you change your mind, you change your life. Listen to me. Change your mind, you change your life. There's always something to be grateful for. You have to find it. You have to walk into each day and each situation trying to think that way. What is positive about what I'm walking into? What can I take away? What's the lesson? What's the story? How can I change this scenario? 78.6 FM Yoma Time, Positive Vibes of Winsome. The topic is gratitude this month. Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. I'm proud of you. You are loved, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Fight for your days. Trust yourself. Back yourself. Love yourself enough to fight for the best version of you. And that doesn't mean the person that you've always been. That means the person that you know you can be. And in order to get there, what do you have to give up that's holding you back? What do you have to climb out of? What hole do you need to climb out of? What fight do you need to take on to become the best version of you? And when I say this, again, I love you, so I'm going to tell you straight up. It's not the version of you think everybody else wants you to be. It's the person that you want you to be. When you see that, when you have that, and you know that, that's the most powerful weapon in the world. Self-awareness, self-gratitude, self-love. There's nothing and no one that can stop you if you don't give up on yourself. 78.6 FM Yomitan, Positive Vibes of Winston. We'll see you next week. Love you guys.